I'm live. Hello. Hi, it's Katrina Kavanagh here, and I am the CEO and that's Chief Empathy Officer and founder of Kindness on Purpose. And I'm here for the very first Perfectly Imperfect Facebook Live. Now, this is my very first Facebook Live. So what I'm going to be doing is I think I need to go to, I'm just sorting out, I'm doing this to actually send out, I'm doing this to test the technology so I can get my head around it, and I'm hoping to get some lovely people to be able to join with me as we actually do this Facebook Live. So just one moment. Oh, I've got a little bug in here. Just one moment. I'm just seeing whether I can, I'm meant to have a place where I can see what's going on, and I can't see where that is. Just a second. No, I want to stay on this page. I want to do more than this though. Is this going to give me, oh, hello Teresa Monica Minter. Thank you very much for being here. You're my very first guest on the Perfectly Imperfect Parenting Live Q&A. Welcome. I'm really grateful that you're here. Oh, here's Fulvia. Oh, Fulvia, hello, you're lovely. I'm just going to wait till a few people come on. Welcome to Perfectly Imperfect Parenting. This is my very, very first live. These live Q&A sessions have been set up because I am someone who always wishes to assist. My vocation is working with people and assisting them to feel better about every aspect of their life. And so for me, I'm a parent. I actually have been working for about 25 years now, working with children and families where there's been trauma, child abuse, abandonment, physical abuse. I mean, I'm saying child abuse, but it covers everything: sexual abuse, neglect, emotional neglect, physical neglect, tragic and sudden unexpected things happening. So that's the work I've been doing for 25 years. Hello, Bonnie, lovely Bonnie. Bonnie, I met you years ago, and please don't look at my attempt tonight with the makeup. Bonnie, everyone is an expert on makeup, so, and I met her through my television experiences. So I'm very grateful to be here. And tonight, what it's about, it's our very first one. So it's about me getting to know you, you getting to know me. And what I'm wanting to do is set up a place where we can come together about once a month. Okay, so our test is tonight, and then, but I'll be asking questions. It's a real live test. And then the 25th of February is again at 8 p.m. when I'm going to be doing some more, another one, the next Perfectly Imperfect Parenting Q&A session. So I'm really, really grateful for every single person that's turning up. Again, I'm just working out the technology. So essentially what's happening is that I've been doing this work for a long time, and the work I've been doing is working with families a lot to deal with the things that come up that are really difficult and tricky. So I've been doing that. And so part of my, and then I've gone on to develop a program called the Kindness on Purpose program. And you'll hear me talk about that from time to time as part of these Facebook Lives. And that's this program that's in schools and focuses on working with children and teachers, and then obviously parents, to increase a child's empathy for themselves and others, because when we have higher rates of empathy, we have lower rates of anxiety, depression, and we have lower rates of bullying and peer relational aggression and things like that. So that program's going very well. In 4 years, we're rolling out pretty quickly, so I'm very pleased about that. It's clinically based, you know, research, based on research and clinically driven. So tonight I wanted to talk about the transition of going back to school. So I thought I would just start by chatting away for a little bit and then just allow, I can't see where your questions are going to come up. I can see you there, but I can't see questions. I can't see questions. So I need to edit, post, create, poll, see video highlights. Maybe that's, I'm just going to click a few buttons. Thank you very much for Therese and Fulvia for sticking with me. No, that's me talking. I'm just trying to find my way, because the system I had up last night when I was testing this did not look like this. Did not look like this at all. So I need to find where that system is. But if you can send me some questions, if one of you could actually say hi for me, I just want to see you say hi. Can someone write a comment and say hi, one of you? Teresa, Monica, Fulvia or Bonnie. if you could do a hi for me, and if you could just let me know whether because I can't actually see it. And that's really, really irritating me, and I don't know why. I can't see your question. Yeah, see, I'm not getting questions up. That's really strange. That's really strange. Why is that? Oh, that's a question. Oh, Bonnie, I can see questions. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Bonnie. I can see questions. I was about to write back to you saying I can see questions, but of course you can hear me. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so I wanted to start, while we're waiting for some people to come online, I wanted to talk about the transition from being on holidays and going back to school. And I wanted to talk about the prevalence of anxiety that our children and young people are feeling, okay? I did some work today looking at some data, and the truth is that we have about the research says, as recent as last year's research, that 65% of students are in school right now experiencing stress and distress because of the pressure they put on themselves to achieve. 65%. Now, I'll talk about what happens to their brain and their body in a moment with that pressure. So 65%, well over half. We know that in primary schools, 1 in 3 students, hello Naomi, how are you going? Thanks for joining us. 1 in 3 students in primary school will be bullied. 1 in 3, that's very significant odds. And we know that with girls from year 6 to year 12, that there's actually 64% of those girls will be cyberbullied online in their time of being at school. Now, once a child's been bullied, particularly cyberbullied, we know that they are 9 times more likely to experience suicidal thoughts and suicidal attempts, and we know that they are also 3 times more likely to experience depression and anxiety. So we know that we have I believe, an epidemic here in Australia. We have a problem that we shouldn't have. And that's one of the reasons why I created the Kindness on Purpose program, because there's some key steps that we go through as part of Kindness on Purpose. And I'll be sharing some of those with you here on our Facebook Lives. That really can help your children, and they're very simple things. It's working with the latest neuroscience and working with the brain and the body. So the data is pretty clear. We've got some very distressed and stressed students, both from primary school right through to high school, who have stepped into the school environment today. If you have children at home, I'm going to be asking you some questions. How are they going academically? How are they achieving as far as what are their results saying? But more importantly for me, how are they feeling in the classroom, in the learning process? Do they feel ready to learn? Do they feel confident? Do they feel that they have the capacity to try new things and take risks? Do they feel that? In the schoolyard, the playground, as we call it in primary school, or I think it's called the quadrangle. My daughter's just gone into year 7. I think they're calling it the quadrangle. From memory, they call it that. So, in the quadrangle, what are they experiencing? Particularly transitioning into high school. So what are they feeling socially? How are they feeling about themselves? Are they questioning themselves? Oh my gosh, will I ever be able to find my way in high school? How will I find how will I find the way to the classes? And whether we're in a high school or whether we are in, hello Lyndall, how are you going now? Please feel free to start putting through your questions, okay? Hello Ashley Taylor, hello, and thank you for any of you who are watching. I'd be really grateful. You realise Facebook Live is actually like having a mirror, so you get to see what you look like. I would really love for you, here we go. Thank you, Naomi. I would love for you to put some questions through, and I'm going to do my best to answer them. So, perfect to the topic, Naomi, and that is, hello, Lyndall, hi. I love your face, that's very cute. But Naomi's question is that your son, Noah, just had a really bad experience of anxiety today because of a new class. Now, let me talk about that. What we don't realise is for a child, when they're going into a new class, whether they are in primary school, preschool, or high school, whether they're in an existing class and later on in the year they end up feeling excluded from the group. When we are worried about whether we're going to be included in the group or not. Our brain reacts and then gives a message to the body. Now, the message that the brain would be giving to your beautiful Noah Naomi is this. The brain has actually not evolved beyond the caveman days a little bit in this reaction. So the brain would be, Noah's brain would be saying, oh my gosh, so I'm just going to take you back. So back into the caveman days, your very physical survival depended on you being with the group. So as a group, you could fend off the tiger. As a group, you could keep each other warm. As a group, you procreated. So your very survival and existence, physically, we're not even getting to the higher order experiences of thinking and feeling. We're just talking about physical survival, okay, life or death. You had to be with the group. Now, what happened is, in those days, in the caveman days, if you were excluded from the group, what would happen is your chances of dying, you would die. What happens now with our children and with ourselves is that when we are feeling socially isolated or socially excluded, and adults have this experience all the time, our brain flicks into that primitive way of thinking. And whilst they may not be able to verbalize it, their body is saying, has gone into a state of fear and panic because, oh my God, I may not survive. It's literally that feeling. So that the rational thinking part of the brain flicks itself into it becomes closed off, and we're in the primitive part of the brain, fight, flight, freeze, or submit, and the anxiety is really, really high. So what do we do about that? Well, hello, Jeanette Marie, lovely Jeanette Marie, how are you going? What do we do about that? What do we do when our children are finding it hard to find a place in school, when our children are in a new class? It's a very distressing event to be in a new class. People don't quite realise. When our year 3 girl is out in the playground and they're having difficulty with their peers and they're feeling isolated and they're walking back into the classroom, are they ready to learn? No, they're not, because their brain is in a state of panic. So what we do is we help children to understand how they're experiencing their emotions, okay? We ourselves come at it with an understanding that, their brain's gone back to the primitive days. They think they're about to, they're not going to survive. Therefore, their response is valid and warranted, right? We don't say things like, don't be silly, shush, 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 please stop it. I mean, the other thing I'll say to you all the way along here is I have a thing I say about parenting, and that is this. As a parent or a teacher, we have an ideal. Oh, better get my fist in correctly. We have an ideal about how we parent. And then we have the reality. And the truth is that some days that ideal and that reality can be quite close, and we're really nailing it, aren't we? We're going, wow, we're the great. And other days it can be far, far, far. They can be far, far away, our ideal and the reality. And you know why the reality of being a parent can be so far away from the ideal? That's because we're human and we've got those brains too and bodies that are responding to what's happening in the moment based on who we are and what our own conditioning is. So a huge part of perfectly imperfect parenting, and that's why I called it that, is a huge recognition that we all can be perfectly imperfect, can't we? Right? I know I am. And so, sorry, back to your question, Naomi. So what Noah is experiencing right now is a really understandable reaction. So the very first thing we want to be sitting with him and saying to him, darling, your body and your brain is just trying to keep you safe, okay? Your body and your brain is showing you that letting you know that you feel really scared. But what we want to do is we want to help your brain and your body calm down, because we want to tell your brain and your body that actually you are safe, okay? So that's the first message. Now, that's a verbal thing to say. The other thing we need to do is we need to help him, and this takes no verbal articulation from him at all about his feelings. We're just going to help him, though, to learn to look after his feelings. When I mean articulation, I mean he doesn't have to say, I'm feeling this because of this. We work with our children to help them learn how to work with their brain and their body, and we do this by saying to them, so you would say, Naomi, Noah, what are you feeling right now? Are you feeling heavy or light? And then you would teach him, right, the difference between the words heavy and light as descriptions of feelings. And then he would be able to say to you, I'm feeling heavy, Mum, okay? And then you the next step is you would say, well, where are you feeling that heavy feeling in your body? Now, the science says that the way to look after your feelings is actually by working with the body. I'm going to say that again. The science says the way to look after your feelings is actually by working with the body. Now, this makes sense because if you think about it, I've just described Noah having an experience that is a physiological response. He would have felt something in his chest, something in his belly, perhaps something in his back. Maybe his head got really hot. So he's experiencing his emotions physically. So that's why our next question to Noah is, Noah, where are you feeling heavy in your body? Is it in your head? Is it in your chest? Is it in your belly? Or is it in your back? Okay. He will learn to identify where he's feeling those heavy feelings. And then the very next step is to say, now we know where you're feeling your heavy feelings, we can look after your feelings. And what you can do is, say, for example, he's feeling heavy feelings in his chest, or he's feeling it in his belly, right? All that is, that's the vagus nerve that sits at the base of the brain, triggered by the amygdala, moving down through the vagus nerve runs from the back of your brain right down through your chest into your gut, into your belly. And when we're feeling anxious, the vagus nerve gets quite busy, and that's why you get a physical tight sensation. You know that feeling when you're sad, or that butterfly feeling in your stomach? That's the vagus nerve working in your body in response to what's happening as a distressing event. So it is a physical experience. So what we're doing is we say to Noah, okay, maybe we'll get a heat pack. I'm a big fan of heat packs. I'll talk about heat packs at the end of this session, but I'll make a note of that actually to remind you all about heat packs. Because once you've tried a heat pack, you never go back. Once you've tried one, my pen's not working. Look at my beautiful pen. I love my pen. It's not working. I think I might have used it and then picked it up and tried to use it again, but that's okay. So what we're doing with Noah is we're saying, okay, Noah, let's get a cool pack or a heat pack. Let's put it on, if his head's feeling hot, we'll put it maybe on the base of his neck. We might put a washer over his head. If his chest is feeling heavy, we're going to put a heat pack on his chest or a cool pack there, or same on his belly. So what we're doing is we're using the physical points of the body, and we're treating our emotional distress as if it was a physical ailment. Because if you think about it, if you had an upset tummy, you know, women, we get period pain. So if you had a period pain, you would get a heat pack and apply it to the belly. If you had muscle soreness, you would get a heat pack and put it on that place in your body where you have muscle soreness. So one of the greatest secrets about looking after our emotions is we use our body, we treat the parts of our body where we're feeling the emotion as if we have a physical ailment, and we treat it in the same way. And isn't that interesting? But the thing I'll add to that is we say this: when you are putting the heat pack on Noah, when you're putting a washer on the back of his forehead, or we're putting a cool pack here, or we're getting him to do a range of other techniques, which I'll talk about over the next few Facebook Lives, we're also saying to him, Noah, we're doing this to look after your feelings. Now, this is a crucial step in the emotional coaching technique that I use, the Kindness on Purpose way, because what you're doing is you're wrapping language around the behavior of looking after your feelings, and you're telling the brain, literally, I'm doing this to look after my feelings, and it helps your brain to start growing a new neurological pathway. And then the next step is you're saying to Noah, once he's come to you and you've gone through, are you feeling heavy or light? I'm feeling heavy. Where am I feeling it? I'm feeling it in my chest. We're putting a heat pack or a cool pack on. We're doing this to look after your feelings. And the next step is see, you can look after your feelings and you can feel okay again. Okay? So when you've worked with him, so see how that is, Naomi, can you see that is all nonverbal? That is all, we're not asking him to sit and explain and why, because we don't have words, right? When we're feeling anxious, we can't access the thinking part of our brain where all the words are. We're in our primitive brain, fight, flight, freeze, or submit, and we just can't access words. So parents are sitting down with our kids saying, what's going on? You know, why do you think this is happening? And helping them to try to rationalize, like a therapist would do. You know, it's just not something that, you know, certainly children and adults can even do. So I hope that's answered your question, Naomi. Can you, and just to reassure him that, number one, his feelings are completely understandable. okay? His feelings are completely understandable. So Naomi, can you tell me, was that helpful for you? Can you let me know through the messenger, please? That would be great. Oh, okay. I've also, oh, that's amazing ideas, Naomi said. Thank you very much. And I just stopped. So Lyndall, I've just noticed your question here, and you've said, I also have a son who gets very anxious at times with school, can be very sensitive. Great to hear these ideas. Lyndall, thank you very much. These are absolutely based in science. This is what works. This is part of the Kindness on Purpose program. We teach ourselves, and now these are not only for the children, FYI, this is for us, right? So parenting is actually an experience of learning how to treat our children and at the same time how to treat ourselves. I should say that again, shouldn't I? Parenting is actually about learning how to treat our children and nurture our children, because nurturing is the word, and I'll talk about that in a second, nurturing our children, okay? But it's also at the same time an opportunity to learn or relearn or remember how to nurture ourselves, because we can only be as nurturing to our children as we are to ourselves. Okay, and that's why when I'm developing, I've got a course I'm developing called Perfectly Imperfect Parenting. And at the moment, that's a significant component, because nurturing ourselves will ultimately mean that we are more able to access that nurturing part of ourselves when it comes to our children. Okay, and for it to feel authentic. But that's a whole nother conversation. Okay, so let me know whether you, please let me know via the messages whether you would be interested in hearing more about how nurturing ourselves actually makes a huge difference in how we feel available to us, to our kids. Okay, so what I wanted to say to you, Lyndall, is anxiety is simply the body saying, I'm not feeling safe and I'm not feeling okay. And what I would be always, alongside those coaching steps, I always do encourage the grown-ups to talk to the grown-ups. So where you can have a good conversation with staff at school, and I'm sure you're already doing this, but I would encourage you to go and begin those conversations. I'm always, as a perfectly imperfect parent myself, if you talk to anyone who's ever taught my children, yes, they're weary. They're weary. That's a joke, but probably not. They will tell you that I am okay with being that parent that goes up to the school, being that parent, that goes up to the school and will have conversations and advocate for my child, and but I know the feeling, even as so I've got, I'm doing this for a living. This is my vocation. I don't actually call it work, and I have. All of that, but even when I'm in parent mode, I still can feel quite disempowered, right? Because it's a school environment and I want to make sure my kids are okay and all that kind of thing. So, hello, Renee Williams. Now, everyone, Renee Williams is my best friend from kindergarten, or maybe even Paint Pot. Was it Paint Pot? Were we in the same preschool together? Now I'm confused, Renee. Can you remind me? Renee Williams is a lovely, lovely girl, and we were best buddies all the way through school. When we got older, I think we kind of shifted in our directions, and that's okay. But we've reconnected, which is really beautiful. And her mum's really beautiful, and anyway, lovely person, lovely, lovely. So, and a dear friend to me. So, hello, Renee. A bit exciting. So sorry, where was I? I was up to the bit about being that parent, right? So it's really important I know we can feel disempowered. We don't want to compromise our kids, do we? We don't want them to feel, like my mum's always the one up there talking, or, but at the same time, they need us to help them have a voice sometimes in a system that's learning how to, it's a wonderful system, but there's bits and pieces of it that is still learning how to address the well-being, the psychological and the emotional and the social needs of children. I have a lot of respect for all the educators that I work with. They're fantastic, and in all the Kindness on Purpose schools, but we're all human here, right? So anyway, I really strongly encourage you to develop a relationship with the teachers that actually are with your students and the executive level. And please, if you are ever feeling, I'm not going to say to you, please don't feel like you're intruding, or please don't feel that you don't wish to be that parent, because the truth is we're going to feel it, okay? We're going to feel it. But the best way to nurture ourselves through that is to say to ourselves, okay, self, Katrina, it's understandable that right at this moment, I'm feeling really nervous that I'm going to somehow, by going talking to my child's teacher, compromise my child in some way. And I'm really scared about that, because why are we even there having the conversation? We're there because we're being protective mama bears or protective daddy bears. Lionesses and lions, whichever analogy you want to go with, you know, the whole animal kingdom thing. We're there because we're wanting to be protective, and we're there in the act of love and nurturing our children. So we are coming from the most amazing place. So please give yourself some nurturing and compassion. I'm loving Fong, if I've pronounced your name incorrectly, I'm terribly sorry. Barakloff, I thank you for saying I am to self-nurture. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of self-nurturing, and I actually love the word nurturing rather than the word love. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation. I'm just going to go pop through and make sure we've got any other questions for tonight's Facebook Live. We're about halfway through. Oh, here we go. Lyndall's adding more. Thank you, Lyndall. I'm very grateful for your message there. You're saying to me, Lyndall, that your son's teacher was great last year and very understanding how he can be. It's only 4 days of schooling so far, I know, and so far so good. Oh, it's a day-by-day experience, isn't it? But I know there'll come a time when he will get upset again, and these tips will help. Well, thank you very much. I cannot express enough. And look, I am in the process of writing, and it'll be in the book. And I can't express enough, and it's an essential part of the program. I can't express enough how working with the body. So there's a fellow by the name of, hello, Louisa. Nice that you're joining us. So there's a man in the United States called Bessel van der Kolk, and he's considered to be one of the world leading experts on trauma. And he's written a book called The Body Keeps Score. And if you haven't read it, it's really, really important if you have an interest in trauma and how the body and brain works together when you've experienced trauma, to process that. I encourage you to do that. But when we talk about trauma, people think of, severe trauma, like children being severely hurt. But what I would like to say to you is that whether it's trauma or whether it's distress, the body still feels that in the same way, and it still keeps the memory on it. It literally does keep score. So the mind can close down, shut off, but the brain will absolutely, the body will still remember. And that's why we have a thing called muscle memory. So people can have a moment where they're triggered and they're not necessarily consciously back in that place, but their body, their muscles are remembering. They're back there. The body's having the same experience. So it's very, very interesting. And that's why it's the body work that actually is the key to working with children. Because sitting down, I used to do a lot of play therapy, and play therapy is good too. But the critical thing of teaching you think about this. I'm very passionate about this topic. Can you imagine that if we had 1 million students in Australia who, from a primary school age or even an early childhood preschool age, because that's how we do with Kindness on Purpose, we run it from early childhood because bullying starts as young as 3. So a peer relational aggression. So imagine if we have a generation, 1 million students, that's my target. Wasn't planning on talking about this tonight, but here it is. 1 million students who actually knew those coaching steps. I call it the 4 emotional coaching steps that I've just shared with you earlier in this podcast. Imagine the difference. Because what we want to do is we want to equip our children and our young people to really know that they have the power to know what they're feeling, number 1, heavy or light, be able to identify where they're feeling it in their body, step 2. Number 3, have solid strategies that they've proven to themselves they can use to get a shift in how they're feeling, okay? And even if it's a little bit better, it's a little bit better. To be able to move on to step 4, which is, and then I can feel okay again. So in the act of practicing those coaching steps, they are literally teaching, retraining their brain, rewiring their brain, and reprogramming their body to understand that I can feel distress, I can feel overwhelmed, I can take active steps to give myself nurturing and relief from this overwhelming feeling, and I will come out the other side of it again. That step 4 is crucial. That step 4 is crucial because what we're doing is, the reason why young people are turning to self-harm and suicide, the reason why young people are turning to bullying and hurting others and excluding others and all of those kinds of behaviours that are harmful to themselves and others. The reason why some students are shutting down and internalising, right, and not letting us know what's really going on. The reason why that's happening is because when they're feeling overwhelmed, they don't know what to do, so they do something to cope. And they engage in all of those behaviours that hurt themselves and hurt others, okay? Imagine what we could do with the suicide rate here in Australia if we actually taught all our children how to cope, how to know how to do those 4 steps. That's one of my missions with Kindness on Purpose. So didn't mean to have a little bit of a preach. It's just something that's really dear to my heart because I know that those things can make a difference. It's part of Kindness on Purpose. There's a raft of other strategies that are part of the program, okay? But I really have a passion that I want every single child to know their own power, to emotionally self-regulate is the clinical term, but to be able to look after their feelings, okay? I wanted to mention, Lyndall, you described your son as sensitive. And, you know, sensitive is a really beautiful word. I myself have been described as sensitive, and I'm always very curious about, you know, when we use that language. And I think some of the best people are sensitive people, of course. And what that really means is he's aware of his feelings. I'm very pleased that he's sensitive and aware of his feelings because that means he has a closer connection to his emotional world. When you have a closer connection to your emotional world, it's one less layer to have to navigate to then be able to learn how to emotionally coach yourself. Because for the kids that have shut down, understandably, because they've had to cope and survive, the ones that have blocked off, shut down, repressed, suppressed, disconnected, numbed out to any of their emotions, they have that extra layer to get through when we're working with their coaching for their the emotional coaching steps and techniques. So he's got a head start. It may not feel like it some days, but he's got a head start and he's in a really, really good position. Now, I'm just looking to see if we've got any other questions here. What I'd love you to do, everyone, is I'd love you to share this post. Once we become, you can share it now. I think you do do that. I'm learning about Facebook Lives, as I said earlier. If you could do that, that would be good. If you could share this. If you could also, I'm going to download this and pop it onto my YouTube channel. So if you could, I'm trying to get more people liking and subscribing to my YouTube channel. I'm not a YouTuber that's going to go down there, but you know, go to my YouTube channel. And also my social media stuff is Kindness on Purpose at Instagram, Kindness on Purpose here at Facebook, and also my YouTube channel, getting more subscribers there, because apparently something magical happens when you actually have, I just thought of something else I need to say. Something magical happens when you get to 100, and I'm far from that yet, but of course I intend to get there. So if you could share that, that would be fantastic. The next Facebook Live will actually be Monday the 25th of February, 1 week after my birthday, turning 46. So it would be Monday the 25th of January, can't say it, February, everyone, February 2019, same place, literally. And what will be happening is I will be putting out a topic, but if you can share my post saying that more of these to come, then I'd be really, really grateful. Because I do expect these to grow and evolve, particularly as we get the information out to our Kindness on Purpose schools. There's a few thousand parents that are going to be aware from next week that we've got another one coming. Today was our lovely trial one. To finish off, I'm actually going to share with you how important something like a heat pack is. Now, I've just described to you the emotional coaching steps that we like to use, and I'd love you to start to use with your children. As you go and practice those, if you have any questions, come back and ask me, and next time, and I'm certainly happy to clarify any of those. Now, as a therapist, I've been working with children and families, but also adults. So in my current private practice, I have a lot of first responders that come and see me. So paramedics, fire brigade, police, to come and see me because they've experienced post-traumatic stress disorder. So whether you're an adult or whether you're a child, I talk about using heat packs. Now, I need to explain, whenever I say Now let's use a heat pack and apply it to the area of your body where you're feeling heavy, if it's your chest or your belly particularly, or back. Mostly people look at me and go, that's great. Yeah, thanks for that, Katrina. I'm going to go home and use the heat pack. And I always say, please, 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 don't knock it till you try it. Go home. Next time you're feeling heavy, please use the heat pack. Apply it to that part of your body and say, I'm doing this to look after my feelings. Every single person who goes home and actually uses the heat pack all come back to me and say, oh my God, I'm never letting it go. And this includes women, this includes big, burly, blokey, first respondery people that are blokey. It includes everyone. They absolutely love it, because when you hold something cool when you're hot or warm to your chest and your belly, it's soft and it's nurturing and it looks after your body in the way that it gives it relief, doesn't it? We do that for muscle and pain. Why can't we do it for emotional pain? I'm going to leave that with you. Facebook Lives will be on average between 30 and 60 minutes, depending on how busy we get. I'd like to thank every single one of you for being there with me today. They say not to use your glasses, but if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to see who's who. Oh, hang on, someone else has popped up. Bonnie. Oh, you've shared it with two beautiful mums. Thank you very much. Anita Petrevsky, you've joined. Thank you very much. And I've got here someone, thanks for the tip, Bonnie. I found this really interesting. Would love to listen to another one. Marnie, please come on to my Kindness on Purpose Facebook and certainly Instagram. I do share a lot there. I've got Twitter as well, Kind on Purpose. And also the subscribing of the YouTube channel, which is Kindness on Purpose. Do I sound like a professional, don't I? The subscribing of the YouTube channel. And so if you could hop on there, that's great as well, because this is where all this content will come to you. And please share and invite, because I want to use my 25 years experience working with children and families where they've been suffering, and I want to share that knowledge with you and be of service to you in the way of answering questions of a clinical nature about the worries and concerns that you're having in this parenting process that I call, it's a bit crazy, it's a bit tough. One of the hardest but best jobs I've ever done in my whole entire life. And we are all perfectly imperfect in our parenting. So this is a place where we can come and be perfectly imperfect together. And I'm happy to talk about my perfectly imperfect moments, because there have been plenty of them all the time. And in fact, what I might do is start sharing with you a weekly Katrina Kavanagh perfectly imperfect moment, if I can do so without embarrassing my children. But I like to share that with you, because you know what I love? I love people feeling comfortable with who they are and knowing that who they are is an amazing person. And, you know, we're all in this together. And so I wanted to create this really safe space, this little community here on our perfectly imperfecting. So I can't even say it properly. I'm perfectly imperfect about the pronunciation. Perfectly imperfect parenting Q&A session. So I can't wait for you all to be back with me next Monday, the 25th. Go to I'm repeating myself now. Go to my Facebook here, Kindness on Purpose, YouTube channel, subscribe, because I'm reaching up to the 100, because magical things happen. And also, what am I missing? Twitter, Kind on Purpose, and Instagram. I love Instagram. Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for saying it's really interesting, and we'll share and be back. Thank you, Anita Matrevsky. You are also beautiful too. You know, we can't see the beauty in others if we don't have the beauty in ourselves, quite frankly. So I'm going to say goodbye. Have I covered off? Oh, I forgot. I need to give a huge shout out to Joan, who provided me with zucchini fritters to eat before the Facebook Live. It takes a community to raise a child, and it takes a community to support Katrina Kavanagh to do all that she's doing, I'll tell you now. So thank you, Joan. Thank you, Joni, for my beautiful zucchini fritters. I'm forever grateful to you. So goodbye, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. I'm going to download this to the YouTube channel thingo. I'm going to do it. I'm going to have to Google it. I'm going to have to look on YouTube to work out how I do it. But anyway, we're going to do it, because whenever I decide something, I get it done. So take care. I think you're all amazing, and to the fellow perfectly imperfect parents. Let's do this together, and I'll see you back here on Monday, the 25th of February at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sydney. Bye.